Welcome to our September 3rd, 2024 Finance Administration Committee meeting. I'd like to read the land acknowledgement. What's that?
After that, did you want to deal with this then,
Okay.
or next?
We'll do it after this.
Okay.
As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge, on behalf of Council and the community, that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. I'd like to call on the Mayor for a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and with the indulgence of committee, I wonder perhaps if we would please stand and take a moment of silence. As many of you know, former Mayor Henry Brown passed away this past week at the age of 87. I understand he was the mayor from 1975 to 1980. Unfortunately, I did not have the pleasure of knowing him. I did recently, this past summer, meet his daughter, who was an amazing person. And from everyone I spoke to the other evening at an event, I understand that he was instrumental in many things that we see in our surroundings in the city of Pembroke. So perhaps if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you.
Next item, disclosure of community interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Giacono. Those in favor? Carried. Approval of the minutes of combined committee, August 13th. Councillor Purcell, seconded Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? None? Thank you. So tonight we have special guests, Darcy and Lindsay Smith from Laurentian Valley Grains to give a presentation on potential donation of land for a sportsplex. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having us. So yeah, we can get right into it. We had proposed, we've been kicking the tires on an idea for a few years with all of our kids in hockey and all the sports around about what could be the future for all the recreation facilities and stuff. And we happen to be fortunate enough to have some land outside of Pembroke, like right on the edge of Pembroke and Laurentian Valley that could suit. And we sort of drummed up this idea a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and passed it around and didn't hear very many negative things from a lot of people. And it kept building and growing, and here we are today. So.
Do we have any questions for our guests? Councillor Keel?
So obviously, almost a year ago now, maybe 10 months ago, the City of Pembroke started our own progress towards such a development. So where is your proposal at, I guess is my question. Like, is it just the offer of land? Is that what we're talking about at this point?
Very good question. Right now, it's just in the idea phase. It's just to see, just from a very outside view, that there's going to be need for a facility like this. With a little bit of experience with some building and stuff like that, a facility of this size takes 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Depending on the funding and all the stuff, the grants and stuff that you can get. So we see that we're going to need something, both Pembroke and Laurentian Valley, and I mean, it's just an idea. It's just an offering of land, and we sketched up the complex, very, very preliminary. It's just more or less to see if there was an appetite for it. It can be adjusted. It can be shrunk, it could be grown, it could be done anything with. It's just to see if it meets any needs.
So this area of land, at the moment, this is just field, right? Is this area serviced yet?
Well, so at the entrance of the field, there is all the services, the water and the sewer. So it's very, very close. Like there's water and sewer there that came up past on Robinson Lane, up past Home Depot. So it's ended right there. That's one of the key factors to it. It's within 100 meters of where the proposed site would be.
Okay, I guess my line of questioning, I guess, is that, we have land in our industrial park, which would be next to two major hotels. It's already serviced. It's already approved for building. It's right off the Highway 17. There's certainly lots of things that we will need in terms of a multiplex project. Land just seems to be one of the possibly the only thing we don't need, I guess, is where I was going with all of this. So I certainly am hoping to have Laurentian Valley's support and the community's support. Obviously, we know the PMC is now 70-some years old. Pemice 2 is over 50 years old. We know from our own pool situation that things are certainly not getting cheaper.
Absolutely.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think the pool started in the high 20s or low 30s millions and is now up to potentially 42 million. So these things are certainly expensive. I guess I don't understand the location when we have the industrial park and hotels and the highway and
Yep.
and the ground's already ready to go. So I certainly hope that you'll be with us as we try and figure this out. Certainly, I am 100% behind the idea that I think this is where we need to go. I think if we continue to spend money, patching the PMC and things like that, it's not that we can't. I believe our operations and our engineers could do it. But in 20 years, at some point in time, you can't patch it, you can't fix it any further. And I don't know that we'll be able to afford a multi-sports complex in 20 years. So that's why I'm keen to look at this today and to not put it off like what was done with the pool. I'm going to need selling on the location, though, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, the fact that it's a conversation that's being had is a win in our books. We're just simply putting an option there. Like if there's a better option, absolutely, 100%. Like it's just like I played a lot of hockey growing up, and like the PMC, it's still to this day one of the nicest rinks around. Like people like minor hockey, the kids from Petawawa, Deep River around, they like, you should see how excited they get when they get to play in the PMC. So like we have to pay homage to that building when we design a new one. And if we can find a place, as long as something is happening, because you don't want to get to the point, like you said, where like you can always put a Band-Aid on it till you can't put a Band-Aid on it or till it's not feasible. So these talks are going to take a year or two to see where, when, what we want. And then from there on out, but it's just to have a lot of options is what it is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for coming. I love the idea. You're open-minded. Many of my friends live in Laurentian Valley, still live there. We communicate. Some of them moved out to Bonnechere, but it's still all one community. I look at it that way. And as you said, you played hockey here, and young children, coming from out of town or the Silver Stick, in smaller communities, they think they're playing at the Corral Centre or, or the Canadian Tire Centre. And so from that aspect, the PMC has some historical impact. When we look down the road, I know that a lot of the users of our facilities come from the area. It's just not only Pembroke. And obviously, you have the foresight to see that yourself. And duly, you've offered the land, as a conversation piece. Governments look at amalgamations and people working together, when you're applying for grants, et cetera, there's strength in numbers, and are we going to be together soon? I mean, people are together, people shop here, we shop in Laurentian Valley. It's all one community. But if you're going to the province and you're talking to, the Minister of Infrastructure or the Minister of Sports, Oh, Pembroke, okay, well, yeah, we know where that is. You're about 20,000. Your sign says 14, but that isn't the population, you know that. But if you say our population is 50,000, because our neighbors, who are part of our infrastructure now, we're looking in the future. They look at that sort of as a way saying, you know what, that's going to contribute not only to a small community, but to a larger mass center as well. So we have to support that. And there are other regions, if you do your homework around through southern Ontario, who did the same thing, coming together. And I'm not pushing amalgamation. I'm just saying there's strength in numbers and there's strength in, talking. When Jack Wilson was the mayor of Laurentian Valley and there was another mayor sitting in this chair, not yourself, your worship, no detriment to you, but there were other mayors and there was conversations about recreation, and Jack and the council came to the table, and they said, yeah, and they were, they didn't want to pay at first because they said, well, why should we? You use our facility, blah, blah, blah. But he came to the table and he said, you know what, this is a good thing for everybody. And we will be a partner. We will pay some for the library, some for this. So rather than being zero, it was something, and it continued to grow because there were logical people in logical positions that understood the value of moving forward together as communities, not as one, but as communities. So what do you feel about amalgamation of the area? I mean, you live in Laurentian Valley. Do you see that coming? I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm just saying, you how old are you? I hate to ask your age. You're
41.
41, so I got a few years on you. But, I've seen things change over the years. I've seen Petawawa, the township of Petawawa, come together. There's been some things happening there. You go look at their sports structures. They've got tennis courts. They've got these beautiful parks. But that's because people came together. So I'll ask you, what do you think? Do you think that'll happen in some time?
I'd be
or
lying.
all your
if
relatives going to disown you
I'd
when
be
you
lying. I'd be lying if I said I haven't had the conversation about that. I mean, and I think like anything to do with amalgamation and stuff like that, I would support 100%. That being said, that's a little bit over my head, on the political side of everything. But the strength in numbers is exactly where we were going with the option of this.
Yeah.
We've seen some of the smaller recreational facilities, like Westmeath and Beachburg and
They're
stuff.
struggling,
Well,
they're
and they
struggling.
pulled it through together with community support, but
Yeah.
that was on a very, very sort of minor or small little failure of the building that they could fix within the community,
Yeah.
and then they ran it with the community. I don't know to your statement about the strength in numbers, if those communities are going to be able to get support for their own facilities when they need to be replaced. So when you start talking about strength in numbers and you take Pembroke, you take Laurentian Valley, and then you start to take Whitewater Region and Admaston, Bromley, or whatever, like maybe not quite that far, but when you start taking a sports facility of this magnitude, because like I'm a big believer in the indoor recreation space as well. We've seen it at a lot of other facilities. It's more used with less operating costs than the rinks and the pools. You know what I mean? It's just an indoor heated space for kids to run around and play soccer, to have birthday parties, whatever you may have in there. And it's very, very low cost of operation, just heat and lights essentially, right? So with the strength and numbers thing, no matter where it gets put, the facility, we're going to be having to reach out to everybody to be able to go for funding, not for 20,000 or 30,000. I think it needs to be in the 50, 60,000. There's a lot of people on the other side of the bridge that come across here every day and that play a lot of sports over here too, whether you can count them into those numbers as well. But there's a lot of facilities over there that are getting a lot of age on them too, right? So it's I think we're kind of all in agreement that something has to be done. It's just when, where, how, and what place, and and it's very important for us all to sort of understand that it doesn't matter where it gets put or what. It's for the benefit of the community, right? Like these facilities are like the heart, right? Like you want to get these kids out, you want to get them doing stuff. You want to get a facility that can support maybe some OHL games in the future, or women's hockey. Now the women's hockey league, some exhibition stuff, something of that, and kind of be like the PMC, like it's still the centerpiece almost. And, or if not, it is. Like, can you imagine 40 years ago, 50 years ago, what that place was like, you know? Like, it was just, and that was kind of like Hockeytown, Canada, you know? That's, you know, it's as old as, so that's what we need to do. Wherever it gets done, we need to have something like this to sort of, you know, cement us back into the top premier hockey region or sports facility region of the area, you know?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your candidness, and it's great to have a discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Mayor Gervais.
Thank you. So if I can begin by thanking you for coming and being asked a variety of questions, including your age and I do appreciate you coming this evening, and if for nothing else, showing a willingness to have the conversation. I know that Councillor Purcell, the CAO, and I just returned from AMO and had a meeting with Minister Lumsden about this. It was the Minister of Sport, and some takeaways from that, and it's get it done is one of them. Another one is, though, to work with the public, and so sometimes the politicians perhaps get in the way. But if you're working with the public and having a conversation with the public who knows what they want, and as former Councillor O'Neill would say, as long as they're prepared to pay for it, then, as the minister said, get it done. So I do appreciate, as you're probably aware, we do have a committee. I appreciate that you're coming forward with an offer, as well as a willingness to talk on behalf of the community at large, being the not only in terms of the city of Pembroke, but also the township of Laurentian Valley, which is it's huge that the township, if the township rallies in terms of the population, in terms of the public, it sends a message to that township as to what it is that you see as a vision, and so by doing that, it sends a message to all the politicians to get it done. And so I do honestly appreciate that you're coming forward and you're expressing interest, and you're effectively putting your money where your mouth is. So I do appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We really like the opportunity to have the discussion, because these are where it starts. We start this discussion and it goes from here, you know?
Yeah. Councillor Purcell.
I just wanted to echo the mayor's comments and really thank you for the generous donation. That's pretty awesome. Like the mayor had talked about, you know, we met with Minister Lumsden just to talk a little bit about a multiplex within the area, and I think one of the takeaways is that we can't do it alone. The city of Pembroke, we have to think regional. We have to think because, I mean, if you're looking at a new build, it's anywhere from about $700 a square foot now in terms of a new build. So you add that to, you know, thousands and thousands of square feet, it gets pretty expensive pretty quickly, right? So you're talking, you know, $50 to $60 million for, you know, even bigger in terms of a project at this size. So it's a big amount in terms to chew. I thought it was really interesting, and you know, how we got here in terms of, you know, they were talking about the AMO a little bit about the Wintario fallout. Way back when, it was the Wintario lottery, right? And 100% of the proceeds would actually go funding recreation right across Ontario. Well, guess what happened? Nobody had the foresight in terms of, you know, how we're going to replace these facilities. So now it's getting to replacement time, such as the PMC, you know, as the PEM Ice 2 as well, and we're looking at, you know, some major upgrades. So I think we need to really look at, you know, working together. And I think we can make this a reality. I do think that this is something that's really exciting for the area. It's well needed, and I think, you know, if we can work together and, you know, rally those, I'd say 100,000 people in terms of the support, you know, in terms of Pembroke services, about 100,000 individuals. If we can rally those individuals and make you know, and make a, you know, commitment in terms of getting this built. I think, you know, there may be some good things coming from the Ontario government. So, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, you know, that's, the 100,000 is even a better number than, I was thinking around the 70. And like when you know, talk around the 50, 60 million, and then there was earlier talk of 40 for a pool, it's hard to believe that you can almost get that kind of efficiency for a multiplex, right? You know, like the larger usually is the square footage price goes down as well. But this is this is exactly what we were hoping to have, was just the open discussion, because I think it's fairly obvious that we need it. Like, and we're not asking, like, even if we don't get the indoor recreational facility, what we're hoping to have replaced is nothing new. We're hoping to get 2 rinks and a pool. You know, we have 2 rinks and a pool, you know, so it's nothing that we're not asking for 5 rinks or 3 pools, or we're simply just asking for stuff that has more than been well used and had its day in the sun sort of thing, and is getting to the point where it's going to start being so expensive to maintain that it'll be almost better or more affordable, even though it sounds big when you say the big ticket item, to have a new facility, right? Yeah, like the cost of ownership sort of thing on these older facilities is going to be, you know. So yeah, that's yeah. Thank you for your comments. Like, I mean, and we're really happy that everybody's on the same page.
Councillor Frenier?
A very generous offer. I want to echo the comments of Councillor Keel, though, is we pretty much, in our previous discussions, the committee that we had set up, we're kind of looking at the Trans-Canada land that we own already. It's central, close to the highways. I'm not going to repeat everything Councillor Keel said. But I do want to say, but you're right. I know that the type of plan you gave us, we'd have no problem rallying support. Everyone knows that that is what we really need. We had budgets this year, and we had reports on how much it's going to cost to fix our facilities over the next 10 years or so. So we know we're looking at upwards of $60 to $80 million. What we're having trouble doing is getting the financial commitments and support. So I'm being quite, frank with you. If Pembroke has to fund it alone or on the present type of funding agreements we have with our neighbors, we can't build it, because we can't take a debenture out for that kind of money. The ratepayers in Pembroke, I mean, you just have to pick up the news and read what just happened to one of our neighboring communities when they went over budget, and now those ratepayers are looking at unreal tax increases to pay for that. So we can't do that. So really, you know what? I am so happy that you're here and you understand the need. And I know everyone does. I just want everyone to understand that we know we need it too, but we may not be able to afford it unless serious, equal funding partners come to the table, And if we don't, well, I mean, it's got to be in Pembroke. I mean, if we're the ones paying for it. And so, I wish that you had land, in Pembroke. Maybe we could keep our own Trans-Canada Park open. But I do say it's really wonderful that you have made this offer. And I look forward to the discussions that our new committee is going to have going forward with all our partners in the area. We had them before, but hopefully we're going to streamline it this time, and we're going to make sure we have commitments before we start talking too much. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, and like just want to make a small comment. If it doesn't happen or doesn't work out to be on our land, there's no hard feelings whatsoever. Like it's we just hope that the facility and the talk gets out there. Like, you know what I mean? If it it's needed. So yeah, no, thank you.
I just want to have a comment and a question. Well, question first. So first of all, thank you again, generous offer. And you share the vision that we have of the sportsplex for any growing community is getting the sportsplexes, down in Keswick and Wasaga Beach. They're all multiplexes, and they attract professionals, doctors, and families, and that's what we want, So I drove down. I was at Home Depot yesterday, and I drove down the end of Robinson Lane. So you're building a residential subdivision in that same spot, same land?
Yeah, so we've had approximately 40 acres rezoned
Right.
to residential right as of now. We have a few, we have a couple apartment buildings on the left that's slowly, taking shape. But yeah, like the long-term plan, we submitted a long-term, very long-term, very rough sort of concept plan of obviously housing development through that whole facility. So just to help with the expansion of the water and sewer, and kind of what could come in the future. It's quite a bit different than the developers to the west of us that are right beside you guys, City of Pembroke. They're doing quite a more high density style structure subdivision sort of
Right.
thing. Ours is very very much more laid back residential sort of thing, but it's very it's just for concept. The drawings that we have, I mean the apartment buildings are kind of more going ahead, but the other stuff is but everything like the land for the recreation center is kind of number one.
Okay.
Like, so if somebody says, let's do it, but we want to put it over here, we want to move it here, we want to put it here, it could be moved at the back, it could be moved at the side, wherever,
So the sportsplex could go anywhere?
it could go anywhere. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
if we felt that, if the committee felt that it would be better serviced up at the top to get off a different street or whatever, we have 130 acres there, so it can be moved anywhere. I mean, the drawings that we had done were just conceptual. We just sort of placed it around the corner. We actually placed it as close as we could get, like, to the city of Pembroke.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, the timing for your presentation is ideal, as you've heard tonight, because last December, I presented a motion to council, seconded by Councillor Keel, for a public-private partnership sportsplex, because we can't afford to go borrow 90 million, 100 million. But when you have a sportsplex, you're more apt to get a government grant when it's a multiplex for a regional facility for that. And so like you say, you've started, you're in on the conversation, the vision, and we know everybody wants it, we just got to figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
So,
And a facility that usually generally a larger facility like that, per square foot, the costs get lowered and the operational costs get lowered as well. Like, like it's small differences, small little things, but like you usually share one Zamboni, right? And like, instead of having two separate staff, you have 1.5 staff, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff, and it's small, it's very small, but it adds up.
and one heating cooling plant for
Like-
the pool and for your arena, so.
Like those are efficiencies which
Yeah.
help you instead of building. Like, if you went and took all 3 facilities and tried to rebuild each facility, you could be 150 million. Well, they're talking 40 for the pool. Well, you go and put that under one roof, and you could shave off. I mean, I don't know what you could shave off, 30% or
Something.
a large amount, which allows you to get more bang for your buck, which is more bang for the citizens and the community and everybody involved.
Right. And we just finished our recreation master plan, and I know Lawrence Valley did one recently, and the number one recommendation was a sportsplex, so thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item, we have. Thank you. We have Sportsplex, Sportsplex Facility Joint Committee. CEO Unruh will present his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the recommendation, we're just seeking direction with respect to the membership of the Sportsplex Facilities Joint Committee. So back in June, motion was passed, and I've got a copy of the motion attached to my report. But just the gist of it is that a committee would be formed. Invitations would be sent to the 3 different municipalities that surround us, Laurentian Valley, Whitewater Region, and Petawawa. And then it continues on in regards to the terms of reference, hiring of owner's engineer. So the first part of that motion has been completed in regards to the invitation sent out. The discussion with Whitewater is happening tomorrow, so it's on their agenda. And Laurentian Valley has provided a response, and it's attached to the report. So going down to the second page of the report, the town of Petawawa is waiting to complete their recreation master plan. So they're in, I don't know if it's even in draft yet, but it's will be finalized this fall. And so they've at least been in communications with us in regards to the idea. And certainly haven't said no to the idea, but they just want to see what comes out of their master plan. In regards to Whitewater, as I mentioned, they have their meeting tomorrow, and it will be discussed. With respect to Laurentian Valley, as the letter attached, just to kind of highlight the quote, they were very excited about the partnership and the opportunity that it provides. They think it would be a great benefit for the residents of the city and the township. In speaking further to the CAO, again, they're looking at it as being a true partnership, a 50-50. They see at this point that they would share 50-50 with the costs. Now, as the committee matures, I'll say, and say, either Petawawa or Whitewater, then that could change in regards to it. But certainly they want to start with having the idea of being 50-50 split in regards to the cost. And as such, the request is to have 50% in regards to the representation. So the initial motion was that there'd be 3 representatives from the city of Pembroke. So they're asking for 3 members from the township of Laurentian Valley sit on the committee. The idea also is that the terms of reference and the budget would be the first item that would be discussed at the very first meeting. Those would be finalized, and then that terms of reference and the budget then would be brought back to the various councils, and then we would move forward with the committees. So if there's any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments, motions? First we have Councillor Frenier, then Mayor Gervais, and then Councillor Plummer.
I just want clarification through the chair from Mr. Unruh. Are you saying that Township of Laurentian Valley has committed to share 50% of the costs associated with the entire project? So I just want clarification on that, because that's the first I've heard of that, which is great, if that's what I heard. Because to this point, there was no commitment. So could you just clarify that?
Yeah, so I can only reference what was discussed with the CAO and what's in the letter. So they're looking at commitment going forward and exploring the different options. And with the exploration and those costs, they would be 50-50. In regards to what the project going forward, that's to be determined in regards to budget. They can't commit to a budget number that they don't know, similar to we can't commit to a budget that we don't know of. But they really feel that this is a potential in the future. And, the discussion that I had with the CEO, that they're looking at a 50-50 split.
So further to that, okay, I understand that. I guess the last time we had a committee discussing the pool, though, it was very difficult to move the discussions forward because everyone came with their wish list on what they wanted to see in the complex, and it got bigger and bigger. But we never, ever got to a financial commitment. So we couldn't move forward. And so I guess that's the stall. is I understand they don't know any more than what we know what the bottom line is going to be on this. But we need to know we have a partner 50-50 moving forward. Because if we suddenly go all through this work and we have a beautiful complex, but it's going to cost, let's just pull out a number, 65 million, and then we have people saying, or one group says we can't, then we start all over. And then the city of Pembroke has to design one we can afford. So I guess that's my only problem, is if we give equal representation at the discussion, then we're taking everybody's ideas and building a mausoleum. And then maybe we can't afford it, because then when they see the cost, they don't want to. So I think if we get a working group with equal say, we're all working from the beginning. And ground up, we can say, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, while we're designing it, and say, this is getting too much. But as equal partners, we will decide that. As equal partners around the table, we need that funding commitment. And with the understanding, neither one of us wants it to go crazy. So I really need a commitment, because otherwise, in a year and a half, when we have plans and we don't have final commitments, we're where we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So that's my only, I want to know who is serious about spending some serious dollars. And yeah, it might cost, 25 million per municipality. Because I really don't see the smaller municipalities, because they were quite upfront with this as well, saying, they probably couldn't contribute a lot because they were dealing with other financial restraints in their community. So that I'm not going to speak anymore, but I really think we need to say from the beginning, especially to our largest partner already, we really need you to be 50-50 from the get-go, because then we can take each other's concerns to the table, to the design, and that's all I want to say.
Mayor Gervais.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in terms of the Township of Whitewater Region as well as the Town of Petawawa, I have had conversations with both mayors, and I respect both in this, and the conversations that we've had, that in those conversations, as they said, we need to take this to our councils, and I was very clear, you're either in or you're out. And I respect if the answer is that you're out, I respect that. And what Councillor Frenier is referring to is before with the Aquatics Committee. Very much respect out of those two. I respect both of them, but I know one particular mayor simply indicated right from the get-go, don't look at us for the funds to construct the thing. If you want certain input, and the input was be shovel ready. If you're not shovel ready, you're not likely to get a grant. Full of different information that was very helpful, but called a spade and just said, but if you're looking for funds to construct it, we're out. And so now we've turned it around and so forth, and said, okay, what if we look at this complex facility, not just an aquatic center, but a complex. And again, the letters go out, and Mr. UNRWA sent out the correspondence to them just to inquire as to, are you in or you're out? I know in the first round, other municipalities, and I won't mention them by name, but other municipalities, some of them would approach me, different members from there, and they approached their councils, and the answer was just simply no. They had too much to deal with and so forth. There's opportunities, though. I can see opportunities for both municipalities of Whitewater and the town of Petawawa. I think we'd be the public could be kidding themselves if they thought that Whitewater isn't without their issues at the present moment. They're amalgamated municipality of probably since 2000, and a number of different rinks spread all over the place. No different than their fire halls and all the other things that I guess happens whenever you amalgamate communities that are vast in terms of geography. But in any event, they have issues, but maybe that's an opportunity for them to say, okay, well, let's jump onto this ship, and as opposed to having 3 different rinks, perhaps it's better to join up with this concept and join and align with other municipalities trying to have a regional type of facility for all of the residents. Do I know if that's going to materialize? I don't, but I do give both mayors credit for simply saying, look, if we're going to go to our councils, we have our challenges, and they outlined what their challenges were. Petawawa has challenges too. Then they'll come back at some point and say whether they're in or they're out. In terms of Laurentian Valley, because I want to clear the air, because I know a number of different people have asked me different questions and so forth. I fully understand the Township of Laurentian Valley saying they want 3 members. If I was Township of Laurentian Valley, I'd want 3 members too. I fully appreciate that. But as was said the last time we talked about this particular topic, and I was in full alignment with Councillor Frenier, and still am, you're either in or you're out. And so I recognize that early on, okay, well, we'll share the cost to explore this and explore that. And I have had, so I can share that with this council. I've had discussions with Mayor Bennett, and that what the CAO is expressing is quite correct. There seems to be a willingness in terms of sharing the cost of exploring and having conversations and what would be involved, but give us equal membership to have that discussion, but don't get too far, because you need to engage us as we go along. And I told them, I said, we haven't gotten too far. We just put together a committee that doesn't even have terms of reference yet, so we haven't gotten too far. But I'm still back to you're either in or you're out, just like we don't know in terms of the city of Pembroke, in terms of exploring what is this going to look like, what's going to be involved and so forth. But, if you're going into it as equals, you got to know that if we can't afford it, well, they can't afford it, and vice versa. But if one of them bails and like the 90 million keeps getting referenced, and that's because when I look at Ottawa, I look at Florida, all these other P3s that I've looked at based upon the consultant's report that we paid 50,000 for. Every time I look at all these different ones, it's around 90 million. And so do I think we can do it alone? I've said that before, not out of a population of 14,000. So if there isn't some working together to make it happen, better hit plan B in terms of what it is that we're doing to move forward, because I don't foresee it. But I don't see the harm, let me put this out there, I don't see the harm in leaving it the way it is. That committee comes together, has a discussion, starts to figure out terms of reference, tries to figure out budgets and what we're looking at, and I would think that very quickly you'll know, what it is that everyone is getting into. It's got to go back to the respective councils, and if they, at that point, knowing what they know, and same thing with us, knowing what we know, and if it's 90 million or whatever it is, we're either in or we're out. Knowing that once the committee actually has terms of reference, does a budget, which I'm assuming that staff will do as they always do, and an excellent job in terms of identifying what does it look like, where's the funds coming from, because I'm mindful that the consultant says, well, don't bank on Starbucks going there and paying the bills and so forth. You got to be able to afford what it is that you're doing, and all this other stuff might be just helpful in getting you there. But I just trying to clear the air and at the same time express that, yes, if I was them, I'd want 3 members too. But until that committee gets its feet underneath them and figures out different things, and individuals are in or they're out. Same thing with Whitewater. I've been very clear with their mayor that you're either in or you're out, and you know that it's expensive, so you're either in or you're out. And I don't want to prejudge it, but it's a big ask, but it's a big step forward for this entire area to function as a community, because I've already said before, in terms of the Minister of Sport, just get to it. Well, you need to have willing partners. Councillor Jackson already referenced that earlier. You need to have willing, municipalities working together, because I don't foresee the Ontario government forcing the issue, and so effectively we have to learn to work together, because I don't think Big Brother is going to make us work together. Thank you.
Councillor Plummer?
Thank you, Chair. So currently I don't have any experience working with Laurentian Valley on a joint committee, as I was not on the pool committee, but I did hear some here's some difficulties working where it was multiple asks and not really where the money's going to come from. I know there was talks of bowling alleys and this and that, and just keeps adding to wish lists, but then actually not really showing up to where to pay, where the actual money is going to be coming from. Hearing though the CAO saying they're committed to, want to have equal representation, but also having commitment to being equal partners, I think we need to set, an example and say, okay, let's leave the past in the past and let's move forward on this project. If they want equal representation and it even says, for initial talks, let's start the initial process as equal partners. We go into this as equal partners. Hopefully we come out on the other end as equal partners in construction phase and funding. So I personally don't have an issue with it. I'm on the committee. 2 other council members are on the committee as well. I've much experience in building, multi-residential and other things, but not obviously a large sports complex. This hasn't been built in this area before. So I know what it takes to get something done and how you got to commit to timelines. So this certainly we won't be having conversations about having conversations. We'll be having conversations about getting things done when we get there. So if they want 3 members, I hope they send 3 members ready to work as a team to a process, because this is not going to take 2 years to get it done. This is not going to take 18 months. We are going to have a good decision, hopefully by, early next year, where we're going. So I'm not on a committee to sit around for 2 years and talk about pie in the sky. So I'll commit to 3 members, but we're going to work. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Chair. I echo Councillor Plummer's comments. I think if anything, we got to start fresh. What happened in the past happened in the past, and I think we need to move forward. If anything, our discussion with Neil Lumsden, the Minister of Recreation and Culture, again said we cannot do it alone. So the Ontario government's telling you, Pembroke, you can do it alone. So I don't know what you're going to do if you're going to say, are you either in or you're out? Well, we don't even know the cost. We don't know if it's 50 million. We don't know if it's 90 million. I think what we do is we have a willing partner, from what I understand, in terms of sharing 50% of the costs in terms of the investigation component. I think we need to be clear in regards to what an off-ramp looks like in terms of the terms of reference, in terms of allowing that exiting phase if it becomes, exorbitant amount of dollars that is unaffordable. But I think, right now, it would be beneficial if we kind of get together, like Councillor Plummer said, and really kind of have, some good conversations and really kind of get some momentum. Because without that momentum, we need the community momentum, but we also need the councils working towards the same direction as well. And without that, we're not going to be successful. So why even bother then? Pembroke can't do it alone. Laurentian Valley can't do it alone. We need to think regional. We need those partners. Let's bring them in, and let's look at the terms of reference and be fair in regards to there's an some sort of off ramp that we can build within the terms of reference, not only for Laurentian Valley, but for the city of Pembroke as well, because it may not be feasible for us to continue as well, even if we were splitting the costs. So I think that's something that we need to look at, and I think we just got to leave the past in the past, move forward with willing partners, and work with the township of Laurentian Valley and see what comes into fruition in terms of the investigation component.
Councillor Keel.
Well, now I'm torn. So, my issue with leaving the past in the past is the past isn't even the past. The past was, earlier this year during budget deliberations with the library and whatnot. So, while I have the greatest of respect for councillors Plummer and Purcell, the past is sort of present. I don't know what to say about the comments from the CAO and the mayor. Obviously, I wasn't in those discussions. I did watch the Township of Laurentian Valley Council meeting where it was stressed, I think, 3 times that we're not committing to money, we're just seeing what we're looking at. So I was quite surprised with those comments that there might potentially be some money there for the exploration part, because again, when I watched the council meeting on YouTube from Laurentian Valley, that was not the impression I was left with. But at this point in time, I think we need to talk about what we're talking about. Are we talking about, ongoing battles with Laurentian Valley and partners and whatnot, or are we trying to build a sportsplex? This whole conversation kind of takes me back to maybe a few months ago when, I think somebody around this table made the comment, well, maybe we should just fix what we have. And my rebuttal to that was I didn't get elected to council to put duct tape and bandages on things. I mean, if we're going to be looking into the future, let's have some sort of vision for the future. There's no point in dreaming in the past. I do question, and I've shared this with the CAO, my biggest concern is that we continue to patch the PMC and patch Pem Ice 2 and put a new roof on Kinsman to the point where instead of it being a $42 million pool, it's a $242 million pool, and we can't afford it, bar none. Things just keep getting more and more and more and more expensive. There was a time where a municipality could build 2 rinks and keep soccer fields and keep all of this stuff going and do it in an affordable way. We're now doing it in a way that hurts. So if we wait 20 years to do it, is it going to hurt? Or are we going to be chopping off limbs? Or is it just going to be, we are not having a new arena. We're not going to have new things. Some people might accuse me of saying that this isn't comparable, but John F. Kennedy in the early 60s said by the end of the decade, let's put a man on the moon. I'm not asking for the moon. I'm asking for a sportsplex. But you have to have some vision if you're going to get there, and you have to, vision is what breeds the public's participation. Vision is hopefully what will get other municipalities on board. Darcy earlier was talking, he almost kind of conceded, well, maybe we don't need an indoor sports room. I disagree with him. That's the one thing we don't have. None of us have it. Not Petawawa, not the base, none of us have an indoor sports room. And on the campaign trail, I heard from a lot of people saying, we travel to Ottawa to play baseball in the middle of the night, to play soccer in the middle of the night, because some of their indoor domes are going almost 24/7 in the winter. I'm not saying this is going to be easy. I mean, the reality is this isn't checkers, this is chess. We're not just, let's be honest with ourselves, we're not just hoping for money from our partners, we're not just hoping for money from the community, we're going to need money from the province and the feds. That's the only way that this is going to happen. So, right now we're having a battle over how many members are sitting on a committee. I could care less. I mean, we got to get moving. Quite frankly, the mayor earlier said, get it done. I almost want that at the top of every piece of paper that we do with the sportsplex. So, you know what? I don't care if they want 3 members or if they want 2 members or they want 1 member, as long as they're willing to be on board. I'm obviously going to take the mayor and the CAO at their word that they've had discussions that obviously I didn't see. I fully trust the mayor and the CAO, so if they're willing to jointly fund the exploration part, which we know is going to be expensive as well. I mean, it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars to get more experts in and get drawings and get to that sort of place that we need to be in. Then I guess I just don't care about the inter-municipality fighting, even though, some of it's been very recently. It's not the past, but, Councillor Plummer's going to be on the committee with me, and like he said, we're going to look them in the face and say, you better show up to get this done. And if they're going to show up and I'm going to witness for myself what I heard coming from the pool committee, which was, dog paddling in the children's end, well then, quite frankly, it's our committee. We can always just peel off and do something different anyway. So I guess I'm saying I don't care, but let's get it done, like the mayor said.
Councillor Giacono, then I'll comment.
I'm very excited. I think we should let the committee move forward. We're making a lot of unnecessary presumptions of what may happen, what may not happen. Let the committee move forward, discuss. I'm glad to see the Laurentian Valley wants to be here with 3 people. Bravo. I'm glad to see that they're stepping up to the plate and saying we'll pay half. Bravo. I mean, let's move forward. Let's see what happens. This is a catalyst. In science, a catalyst is something you add to an experiment, which makes things bubble and takes place. And the catalyst is the only thing that is left after the experiment is over. This is a catalyst. We have to move forward. Henry Brown, God bless him, the mayor brought attention to him tonight, and he had the dream of a marina. You take a walk down there. It started as a marina. Now we have a walkway beyond, comprehension. People from all over the world come here to take a look at it. So it started with Plan A, and it transduced into Plan B, C, and D. So now we've got something worthwhile. But let the committee move forward. Henry Brown, it just didn't happen with him. It was Mayor McCann, Angus Campbell, Mayor Scott, Mayor Pilot. Those guys contributed to keep the progress going. We can't stop and say it's not going to happen. Or, what about if it does happen? Wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, if we don't have the money, we can come to that place later and say to our committee from Laurentian Valley, this isn't going to work for any of us. We have to reduce the amount. Are you in? I can't see them saying no, because they know how important it is to everybody. You look at that walkway, we see contractors made donations. We see Laurentian Valley participating. We saw the town of Petawawa. We had people donating boards from the public. A lot of those people didn't live in Pembroke. They lived in Laurentian Valley. They wanted to recognize their parents, their siblings, and they bought a board, $20, because they believed in the dream. And I believe the Laurentian Valley believes in this dream, and it's going to happen. But we have to let the committee move forward and bring the reports back to council. We had service clubs, Kinsman, Rotary. I mean, I've got to say it, Kiwanis, the RCAF Association, all these people contributed a little bit. So we have people coming from the Quebec side. I met a lady from Shawville. We need our pool. I said, madam, when you say it's our pool, you live on the Quebec side. Well, yeah, but I need it. I need to go swimming. So there may be some effort to reach out to the provincial mandate of people coming from Shawville, Chapeau, Fort Collonge, Davidson, Sheenborough. They come here to use that facility. It truly is not just a regional pool, it's an interprovincial pool when you look at it. So I think that should be taken into consideration when the committee's having their discussion, to consider that. There may be some options. You may get 0, or you may get, who knows, $100,000 from each of those communities. So move forward, let the committee go. I think it's a wonderful idea. And when I close my eyes, and I don't sleep at council that often, I have my eyes open, I see it happening. So it'll only happen if we all work together. And thank you to these folks that came here tonight. You're the catalyst. You're getting her going. Get her done. Thanks.
I was sitting at McDonald's when I first ran for council with another candidate, and he said to me, what is it with Pembroke? We can't seem to get anything going here. So I said, well, it's all about the attitude and the vision. So I agree with Councillor Plummer. We've made a motion for a P3. We did expression of interest for the Transcan Corporate Park. I hope the committee doesn't start bickering over location. We put it on a December 1st deadline, and there was a reason we did that. I didn't run for council a second time to wait 5 to 10 years for a sportsplex. That's why the P3 model was introduced, because it can be done within 3 to 4 years. It's a financing model. This is only going to happen if we have joint regional support from Laurentian Valley, Whitewater, and everybody. And we have a P3 model for financing, we have a grant, and we have municipal contribution from municipalities and fundraising. You put that all together, you have a regional sportsplex. AquaTurf, second ice pad, PMC replacement, and a pool, or something like that, So full confidence in the members on the committee. Does someone want to entertain a motion? Oh, you want to speak? Okay, go ahead.
So listening to everyone through the chair, I trust that Councillor Plummer and Councillor Keel are going to watch this ship as it is. Sorry, I thought Councillor Keel said he was on the committee, and Councillor Purcell. All right, three of us. Sorry.
You're surrounded.
Yeah, like, that's right, the triangle. I know, and I was happy to hear about the 50% split between the exploration costs and things like that. And I'm sure that before we go too far with this, we're going to know what it's costing, and you will come back to the committee with whatever financial commitments going forward. Because I agree, we all know we need this. And I think back in January, February, Laurentian Valley identified that they wanted to, because they did come to the table and help us fix the pool. There's a fundraising committee now out there, and they're doing a great job. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I just want to make sure, you know, before we have shovels in ground, we've got commitments, firm commitments. And I'm with Deputy Mayor. I don't want to see it dragging on for 5 or 6 years. So thank you.
Plummer,
I would move that we accept Laurentian Valley's request to add equal representation, so having 3 members from each municipality on the committee.
seconder, Councillor Purcell. Any more discussion? Councillor Giacono.
It is not unusual, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to find our pollution plant located in the corporation of Laurentian Valley. A lot of people don't know that. They think that the pollution plant is located in Pembroke. It is not. It is located in Laurentian Valley. So it's not, wouldn't be the first, first type of construction that's taking place somewhere else. There is a reciprocal that comes back to us through taxation, et cetera, but it shows that there can be things built in other municipalities. Let's move forward. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor to have 3 members on the P3 steering committee from Laurentian Valley. Those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next up we have our good friend, Chief Sell, monthly report.
Well, thank you, Chair. I'm going to have to talk to the person that puts the agendas together. It seems like every time I take the seat here, I've followed some hot topics. So.
Hot seat.
All right, so I'll begin with the August monthly report. We continued with the platoon inspection portfolios and smoke alarm program. This fall and winter, we're moving into smaller residential apartment buildings, and we've begun inspecting the schools, of course, for back to school. And during August, of course, we prepared for Fiddle Park. Our smoke alarm program continues to focus on McKay Street. August was a busy month for us regarding public education. We attended Music for a Cause event in late July. We collaborated with the Pembroke Public Library in early August for our first Fire Trucks and Freezies event. We attended the Community Living Summer Barbecue and provided an information booth along with fire extinguisher training to all staff. And finally, we attended St. Joseph's Housing event, providing an information booth and treats for the kids. Unfortunately, 2 events were canceled in August due to emergency calls. SAF assessed fire drills at 3 and 5 Crandall Street. Public safety messaging on Pembroke's Pure Country focused on safety on the water and the importance of putting your phone away when driving. On our social media channels, we celebrated Firefighters of the Month for July and shared information on wildfire prevention as the daily wildfire hazard reports indicated growing risk in August. We continued to share information from the Renfrew County Health Unit as well, especially for items that may impact our community, such as overdose alerts and environmental warnings. Our Facebook page, we reached almost 25,000 users. We engaged with a little over 4,600 users. We acquired 22 new followers, and now we currently have 1,011 followers on our Facebook page. So to acknowledge the hard work and dedication and professionalism of our staff, Firefighter of the Month this month goes to Justin White. Justin fills a valuable role at the Pembroke Fire Department with diligence. His positive and professional attitude have been greatly appreciated. Our volunteer of the month goes to Matthew Smith. Matthew responded effectively when called upon this month, providing key support during the residential structure fire on Riverside Drive. So congratulations to Justin and Matthew. Vulnerable occupancy fire drills and inspections were conducted at both Carrefour buildings in August, so Carrefour Complex and the Carrefour McKay. Staff attended and reviewed a full evacuation of Heritage Manor. So this is not part of the vulnerable occupancy requirements to the Fire Protection and Prevention Act, but it is a requirement as part of the Retirement Homes Act. I'd like to thank the staff of the Pembroke Fire Department for taking care of the water stations that were set up during the heat warning at the beginning of August. During that heat warning, the city used 4 cases of water over the 3 days. The Emergency Operations Center and Training Room hosted our in-house training sessions and departmental meetings. We also conducted interviews for volunteer firefighters. We're hoping through this interview process to reach our full complement of 20 volunteers. The Steering Committee for Renfrew County and District Drug Strategy also held a meeting in August in the EOC. As far as equipment and operations goes, annual pump testing and certification and ladder testing and certification was completed through the summer. This includes the aerial, both for the pump testing and the ladder testing, and all trucks and ladders have passed in 2024. Also in August, we released quotation Q24-5. This is the department's first purchase of this type regarding structural firefighting gear. This is a purchase is approved capital purchase for 2024, and the closing date is set for this Thursday, September 5th. In July, the association sponsored a men's night at the Pembroke Golf Club, as well as contributing to the city's 9 and Dine golfing event. In August, the association sponsored the Busker Festival and donated to the GoFundMe page for the young man who was seriously injured in an accident earlier this month. Training is outlined in the report. The recreational open-air burning permits, you can see where we're at. It's starting to slow down in August, and I'll be presenting more information on that a little later. In August, we conducted a total of 16 smoke alarm programs. We tested 33 alarms. 2 alarms were missing, 8 were not working, 3 batteries were replaced, and 12 new alarms were installed. As far as inspections and consultations for the month of August, the department completed 161 of these. We responded to 39 incidents, including 1 structure fire. Estimated dollar loss was $120,500. And in August, we gave out 2 letters of warning. We received payment for 1 fine, and there are still 2 fines outstanding.
For your report. Any questions or comments for the chief? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Update on recreational burning bylaw 2023-63.
Thank you, Chair. So direction is required from committee on whether or not we're going to continue forward with the intent of bylaw 2023-63. So as far as the background goes, September 5th, 2023, bylaw 2023-63, a bylaw to regulate recreational open-air burning and precautions to be taken by owner in the city of Pembroke was passed. The city of Pembroke has had a bylaw in place to regulate recreational burning since 2004. There was little change over the years to this bylaw, and it only allowed people within a very defined geographical area within the city to apply for recreational burn permits. It was recognized that the bylaw did require updating. So review and research began in 2019 when the bylaw was first revisited. At this time, although community engagement reflected a small majority of respondents wishing to allow expanded opportunities to purchase burn permits, it was decided the best approach was to build 2 pits at Riverside Park for the public to utilize. So these pits were completed in 2022. Since that time, to my knowledge, there have been no reservations of those pits by the public. However, the city has used them on several occasions, and for the small investment that it took to build those. It's worthwhile. Throughout the summer of 2023, council was presented with options to consider as they wish to revisit the bylaw updated in 2019. September 5th, 2023, council passed bylaw 2023-63. So the bylaw allowed more residents the opportunity to partake in recreational backyard fires, removed the geographical restrictions of the previous bylaws. The new bylaw clearly defined all terms referenced within, laid out administration and enforcement roles and responsibilities, and defined the department's right of entry. Regulations that each permit holder are bound to follow are explained, along with the provisions for cooking appliances, gas-fired appliances, the approved fuels to be burned, and exemptions that may be applied for. The issuance of permits, inspections and approval process, fees, fire bans, and withdrawal of permits are all outlined. Lastly, the powers of the city and the fire department are clearly defined when it comes to extinguishment of fires, cost recovery provisions, and offenses, penalties, and the fine structure. So what we did when this came out was that we developed an information package to better explain the bylaw to residents, allowing them to prepare prior to the inspection from the fire department, and this process has worked quite well for us. So since its passing, the fire department has conducted 189 inspections. That includes right back to my numbers taken September 5th, 2023 to now. We have approved 180 new permits, and we've recovered $18,000 in administration costs for these new permits. We've also renewed 41 existing permits and recovered $2,050 for administration of these renewals. There have been 4 complaints received regarding properties with approved permits. All of these have been investigated and the complaints were not substantiated. Some of these complaints upon investigation show the properties had valid permits. It is vital for residents to report valid complaints to the fire department immediately upon witnessing what they deem as violations of the bylaw. The fire department has seen a drop in calls for unauthorized burning in terms of recreational backyard fires. However, we've seen an increase in the overall number of calls for unauthorized burning. And I break down the years. So 2020 we saw 16, 2021 we saw 23, 2022 we saw 10. In 2023, up to the passing of the bylaw, we had 18. And then from September 5th to August 25th, we were looking at 26 unauthorized burning calls. I've gone to break down what those ones were, and 7 of those I would consider would be the unauthorized backyard recreational fires. All of those were due to lack of knowledge of the bylaw. So when presented with the letter of warning, we've not had another incident since the letter of warning, and we did have one individual come and purchase the permit the next day with the inspection. 2 unauthorized burning calls we responded to, and it was found to have a valid permit. 2 unauthorized burning calls which were deemed to be false reports, so these were just never found. 1 unauthorized burning call for burning outside the prescribed times. Of course, this individual had a permit purchased through an inspection process, and it was the individual's child was house sitting for them from out of town, and they weren't familiar with the bylaw. So, of course, we haven't had an occurrence at that address since. The biggest problem we're running into is the 10 unauthorized burning calls in various wooded locations around the city. So 7 along the Algonquin Trail, 1 at the south end of Pansy Patch Park, and then 2 in other open areas, which I don't think our bylaw would have any, that doesn't have anything to do with our bylaw. I don't think there's any way that we could legislate those away. 3 unauthorized burning calls, which upon response were deemed to be in Laurentian Valley. They were basically literally right on the border. I know the caller did identify that the fire was actually in Laurentian Valley, but I guess because of him calling from Pembroke, they still dispatched us first. 1 unauthorized call was for using an unapproved fire appliance, and we confiscated that appliance at that time. So direction is required from committee as to whether or not they would like to continue with the current bylaw or research different options for recreational burning within the city of Pembroke. If the committee wishes to move forward with the current bylaw, staff will bring forward an updated report and bylaw later this year. The goal of the update will be to address some deficiencies and clean up a little bit of language we've noted through year one. As a refresher to committee, there were concerns raised in 2023 from the community. So aside from the smell, noise, and safety being the main issues, the other two issues that committee should consider is the relationship between burning carbon-based products and the effects the production of smoke, carbon dioxide, and other pollutants have on the environment and the air quality. The dangers of smoke and links to both short and long-term health effects are not new. These health effects were at the forefront of news last summer with the large amount of forest fires burning across the country. Questions and concerns were also raised about the conflicts of increased backyard fires and the city's climate action plan. And the question was raised that, was this the right time to increase the city's carbon footprint? As far as financial implications, including renewals, this bylaw has generated $20,050 with $18,000 specifically from new permits. As we enter year two of the bylaw, renewals will be the focus, so I would expect that the dollar figures should be cut roughly in half. Renewals also reduce the burden on the fire department as inspections would not be required. So if changes have been made to the approved area, then this would trigger an inspection and full cost may be applied. Thank you.
Comments on moving forward with the bylaws? We have Councillor Keel and Councillor Plummer.
So do we receive many complaints about the expansion of the backyard fire system?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. Looking at doing my report and the research, I've come across 4 incidents where we had complaints. As far as, yeah, those are registered complaints. As far as anecdotal complaints, I haven't really received many of those either.
Okay, so the only reason I bring that up, of course, is it's reminding me, because this was probably, I think so far this term, one of the things that we did the most in depth with people. And of course, when we put out, the Survey Monkey poll, yes, there was a majority that really focused on it, but there were some pretty heavy people that were completely and utterly opposed to this. But in my opinion, we haven't really found, much to come from it. As far as I'm concerned, I consider this to be successful 1 year in. With respect to the unauthorized burning calls, 26 for this year, that's certainly higher than in past years. But again, if you take out the 10 that are in bushes and stuff, obviously this bylaw wouldn't have applied to that, so now you're down to 16. You take out the 3 that were in Laurentian Valley, and now you're down to 13. 2 calls, well, the person had a valid permit, so now we're down to 11. And 2 calls were deemed to be false reports, so now we're down to 9. So I think if we actually look at the bylaw itself, I don't know. I think it's been a success. I was a little nervous about asking you how many complaints there were. I'm not happy to hear that there's 4. Obviously, those are 4 constituents that perhaps have some concerns or whatnot, and certainly, despite being one of the councillors out in favor of this, I haven't received a single report. I can say that to council, or a single complaint, I mean. So I think this has been largely successful 1 year, and I know we asked you to come back after a year with this report. Can I just ask as a final question what the tweaks would be, or are they truly technical and we'll take a look at them later on?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes. So, for example, I would address the changes to the approved locations. I don't think we have the ability to. It's not clear in there that we have the ability to go or to invoice for that inspection. So it's little things like that I would try to clean up and make it a little clearer for staff on how to approach those instances.
Okay. And I'd be happy to address those.
Councillor Plummer, then Purcell, and then Councillor Lafreniere.
I was just gonna say I have no issue with it. It sounds like the bylaws in place, it's doing the job, and there were some, several unauthorized calls, but as Councillor Keel stated elegantly, most of them, or the majority of them, were something that we couldn't even affect us, or the bylaw wouldn't capture. So I would move forward with continuation of the bylaw for next year.
Councillor Purcell?
Thank you, Chair. I won't do the math as well. Actually, that's what I wanted to comment on. By the time you actually reduce those numbers, it seems like it's reasonable in terms of what the expectation is for, especially a new program. I think a lot of people just aren't sure because they see probably an open fire and they think, oh, okay, well, I'll phone fire department just to investigate. So I think that some of that concerns there, but I don't really have any concerns. I know my grandson loves his marshmallows and cookies, Papa. It's working really, really well, and I'm glad to see that. I think one of my concern is in terms of individuals burning garbage and those types of things, and I haven't seen any calls associated with that, which is great. So they're using the appropriate fuels, and it's for recreation purposes. And I think people be cognizant, and that you do have neighbors, and to just be cognizant that when you're utilizing your outdoor fire pits and that you have the appropriate permitry and that you have all the protocols in place to protect property and life and not to be a nuisance to your neighbor. So kudos. I think it's great.
Before Councillor Frenny speaks, the chief would like to say something.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, as far as to address some of the complaints that we've received, I need to stress to the public, and I ask that if you do receive complaints, please forward them to me as soon as possible. But the importance of calling immediately whenever residents feel that somebody's not following the rules, because when we get it immediately, we can go and address the problem immediately. Bringing us a complaint 2 months later, there's really nothing that we can do with that. And I certainly feel that if somebody is going to that length to come to me at that time, I certainly feel that their complaint is legitimate. However, I have no way to substantiate those complaints. So I just ask that the community comes forward as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Frenier?
Yes, through you. I only received one complaint, and it was not really about them not having a permit or anything. It was just she has to shut her windows because the smoke from her neighbor's fire does come into her home. So he has a permit, her neighbor and everything. It's just she didn't like the smoke. My question, though, is more around if someone is getting a renewal. You say here, if changes have been made to the approved area, an inspection would be required. But other than that, a renewal doesn't need an inspection. When they're renewing, do they have to show you the diagram, or are you just taking their word that they didn't make changes?
That's another part of the process we're still working on.
Okay.
However, we've photographed every area. The renewal form the individual will look at the picture and verbally confirm that there's been no changes and sign off on that document. Therefore, if we do respond to an incident or to a complaint, and we have that picture saying you signed off and said there was nothing changed and there's changes, then that allows us to proceed with certain actions.
Okay. And do you send a notice, sorry, one more question. Do you send a notice to the permit holders that it's time for renewal?
No, currently we do not.
So do you follow up with them if they didn't renew?
So that's something that we could discuss
Okay.
between my staff and myself, because we have been accumulating email addresses. So perhaps at the end of the year we could send out an email to all the permit holders reminding them in 2025 your permit will come for renewal, something to that effect.
Okay, because we need to control how many permits are actually valid. Okay, Thank you very much.
Purcell?
Just to follow up on that, so the permit from the date of the inspection is 1 year out for each household? Or is it the burning?
That's correct.
Would it not make sense maybe just to look at maybe just a burning calendar year? I think I know the reason why you did it, because in terms of the inspections, but now that the inspections are probably slowing down and people are more in terms of renewals, just consider that. It might be easier just to say, okay, you buy a burn permit for, 2025, from January to December 31st. I think it just makes it a little bit easier. And I know myself, I'm thinking, oh God, maybe I'm beyond my permit time, right? In terms of, making sure my renewal there is, because I know I have that piece of paper, but does one just contact the fire department to get that date? I also don't want to inundate the fire department. That's why I'm saying maybe it's better off to look at a calendar year. But maybe I'll leave that with you, but I think that maybe makes more sense.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is a good idea. Remember, this is still new to us as well, too. We went from doing 25 permits a year to, well, close to 200, so this will be an interesting process, and yours is still valid. I check it every day.
Yeah, maybe Councilor Purcell give you a s'mores. So Chief, is that enough direction for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so that's it for tonight then? Thank you. Next item, Municipal Canada Building Fund Agreement. Are you doing that, CEO?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so this report is presented for information with a bylaw coming forward for passing as part of the council agenda. So the Canadian Community Building Fund, which was formerly known as the Federal Gas Tax Program, provides the City of Pembroke with predictable formula-based funding for eligible capital projects. AMO, the scheduled funding allocations for the City of Pembroke for the years 2024 under this program are as follows. 2024, 903,211.79, and then it goes up to 2028 of $978,479.44. So the funding agreement needs to be renewed, and it's presented in a bylaw that will be passed later on tonight. If you have any questions, I might be able to answer them.
Thank you. Next item, asset retirement obligation policy. We have our financial plan analyst, Jennifer Belair. Welcome.
Hi. So that the combined committee recommend approval of the City of Pembroke's asset retirement obligation policy in accordance with Public Sector Accounting Board Section 3280, asset retirement obligations. PS 3280 requires every municipality to prepare an asset retirement obligation policy. The standard must be applied by all public sector entities who prepare their financial statements under PSAB, including all Canadian municipalities. The new standard defines asset retirement obligations as a legal obligation associated with the retirement of tangible capital asset. Before this introduction of PS 3280, there was no specific guidance on how to report, recognize, and measure the legal obligations associated with the retirement of long-lived tangible capital assets for public sector entities. Municipalities have generally not reflected the retirement obligations in their financial statements, as there was no formal standard requiring it. Instead, municipalities only recognized environmental obligations within the scope of PS 3260, which addresses liability for contaminated sites, and PS 3270, which addresses solid waste closure and post-closure liability. Common asset retirement obligations now under the scope of PS 3280 have not previously been recognized by municipalities. Such obligations to retire buildings with asbestos or underground fuel storage tanks. As a result, the implementation of this standard will require municipalities to recognize obligations which were previously out of scope of accounting standards. So the 2023 audited financial statements will include a new unfunded liability for its asset retirement obligations. This will include the cost to remediate asbestos from any city buildings and the cost to remove underground fuel storage tanks. These costs are currently being assessed. And the asset retirement obligation policy is attached for your reference.
Comments or motions or questions? Councillor Giacono?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Deputy Mayor. The costs that are being assessed, when will we know what they are? Is
So
there,
the third party is doing the inspections during September.
thank you.
Councillor Purcell?
I guess my question is in regards to the asbestos and buildings. Do we have probably you wouldn't be able to answer that question, but I would hope that we'd have an inventory in terms of the asbestos in buildings and locations and.
Yes, we had a full inventory of our facilities, and any ones that are reasonable to possibly contain it are being assessed.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
And the councillor, Mary Gervais.
It's all good. So I would move that we approve the City of Pembroke's asset retirement obligation policy that's been circulated, knowing that we'll, like everything else, we'll get more information to come.
Right.
And Councillor Keel? Okay. Motion on the floor, any more discussion? Those in favor? Carried.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Last item for tonight, zero emissions vehicle infrastructure program, funding application, CEO Unruh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So very excited about this this report with respect to anything in regards to zero emissions. So this is a zero emissions vehicle infrastructure program, ZIP or ZIP. I'm not sure exactly how you say that, but ZIP funding application. So the report is provided for information with resolution coming forward in the agenda package. So in early August, the Treasurer submitted a formal application to FCM for an on-demand transit pilot project. If successful, the funding could provide 50% of the eligible cost to municipalities with a population of 20,000 or under, to a maximum of $500,000. So just to kind of go on further, this application, the Zero Emissions Vehicle Information Program, can be layered on top of the FCM application. And so that was one of the options that we were going to put in the RFP, that we were going to actually go for either regular emissions vehicles or zero emission or electric style vehicles. So the Treasurer has had several meetings with Justin Allen, the President and CEO of ORPC, and they're looking at a location on Lake Street and College, right around the parking lot. The picture and some diagrams are attached to install a fast charger, and that would be available for the potential of the two buses that we were talking about getting. So open up to any questions that you might have.
Councillor Keel?
So if this was to move forward for the buses situation, would we also be looking at securing that area, like with a fence or something, or would the buses just be hanging out there?
Yeah, so the thought would be is that if we do put the fast chargers there, that would end up probably being the depot for the buses. And so, yeah, there would probably be some type of security fencing, a little shack so the drivers could come in, a couple parking spaces for the drivers. And we looked at the location, and currently it's partially used by the apartment across the road, and we don't think that there will be any issue with the two uses commingling.
Because some of that's completely unused, right? Like it's not even finished ground, so we'd actually be making use of a unused spot partially. Okay.
And it's actually really nice when we have had the chance to talk to the Algonquin College. We're lucky to be invited to a couple presentations this past week, and in talking to the interim dean, Jamie Bramberger, there could be some synergies with some of their programs and these chargers in regards to the environmental program.
Thank you, Councillor Keel. Councillor Purcell.
Just a quick question in regards to the location for the proposed chargers. So is the idea then these will be charged like over a period of time, like over the nighttime? Is that how these will be operated in terms of to supply power to the electric buses? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, so they are the fast chargers. So the ideal will be overnight, but also, maybe in between the runs or during the day, just to kind of top up. One of the RFPs that we did receive, they were talking about actually 3 buses that might be required. But I think if we centrally locate the charger units, then they could just top up in between, like either some slow parts during the day, and then at night will be the main charging.
I can see during the day, but I worry about in the wintertime with no canopy coverage. We did a garage for operations in regards to making sure that their equipment is ready, but I know electric buses won't do well in the cold. For fast charging overnight, so now you have potential for, more manpower in terms of cleaning up the buses, getting them road ready, especially during winter months. So I just want to make sure that, we really look at the location in terms of the charger location, so that way they could be housed as well. Just consider that in terms of
I
location.
can comment on that after
Sure.
Councillor Giacono speaks.
Thank you. Was consideration given to any other locations? Just looking at this aerial map, I see the large area of the hydro parking lot, the ORPC. It's gated, it's fenced, it's locked at night. In regards to security, I'm just wondering if any consideration had been given or any discussion with the hydro affiliation as to maybe storing those buses there overnight.
Yeah, the treasurer and the president and CEO of ORPC took a look actually at several different locations. In this one area at the, in a conjunction with the PMC parking lot, not on their property because there's, if you go through, there'd be pretty full with vehicles. So I don't think there's any opportunity within the gated area. We also looked at the fire hall and also at the sand domes. So one thing that we're looking at was that availability of power. Because if you have to put in, a huge transformer, the cost will be a lot higher. So we wanted to be in proximity to the proper power. And so that way that location would be chosen.
So
Thanks.
if I could comment, I also had a discussion with Justin Allen about charging and all this, because I had a couple ideas for location. And we walked over to the corner of the parking lot across from the PMC, and also where the location is, that staff has chosen. And the reason, as the CEO says, that they're there, because the feeder line coming in has the voltage, and then then it's dropped down to the proper voltage for the transformer. I asked him if it could be inside of the gated hydro yard, and he said no, they don't have any room to have it in there. I think with on-demand transit, once you get your algorithm going and you know when your peak times are, you have 2 buses zipping around. One bus will, this is to answer your question, Councillor Purcell, one bus will go into charge. It takes about 40 minutes to 50, and then that'll go out again, and the other bus will come to charge, and then nighttime they will go into a garage somewhere. It can be noted, the Municipal Canada Community Building Fund, one of the eligible expenses is transit infrastructure, if council deemed necessary for a garage type. And, if we can't find indoor garage somewhere, you can build something. But maybe we can find indoor garage. Yeah.
Through that infrastructure fund, will they also support lease space?
That's a good question. It's in the appendix. I don't,
Okay.
do you know the answer for that, Ms. Belair? Lease space? Or no, CO? CO, I mean. It's in the appendix. We'll have to find out.
That'd be something I'd be interested to find out if it supports the lease space, because I mean, there's other opportunities in industrial park that have the right power opportunities for the quick chargers, and maybe that's something that we can do, especially if it's a pilot. There may be an opportunity just to lease some space for the shelter.
Right. So that's coming forward as a resolution tonight, council. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Keel, seconded Councillor Plummer. Those in favor? We are adjourned.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the council meeting to order for September 3rd. I would ask everyone to please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join a prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosed pecuniary interest in relation to the open meeting of council? Seeing none. A series of different minutes this evening. First is to approve the meetings of council. Regular meeting August 13th, 2024. I'd entertain motion for that. Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. Second for this evening is adopting minutes from committees, and there's only one this evening, combined committee meeting, August 13th, 2024. I have Councillor Plummer, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. This evening we have a series of different bylaws. The first is 2024-52, Official Plan Amendment Number 23. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Purcell that bylaw 2024-52 being a bylaw to authorize the adoption of amendment number 23 to the official plan 2016 of the City of Pembroke Planning Area be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by Your Worship and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, awaiting your signature, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Purcell, that bylaw 2024-52, a bylaw to authorize the adoption of an amendment number 23 to the official plan 2016 of the City of Pembroke Planning Area be adopted and passed, and further the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Your Worship. This was discussed previously.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is bylaw 2024-53, parking bylaw amendment. Councillor Keel.
Moved by myself, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2024-53, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2024-24 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate and control the parking of vehicles in the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, the bylaw 2024-53, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2024-24, as amended, being a bylaw to regulate and control parking of vehicles in the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel.
Your Honor, Your Worship. Wrong venue. Occupational hazard. This is a housekeeping amendment to remove the Patterson parking lot from Schedule W, overnight parking of vehicles and/or recreational vehicles prohibited in bylaw 2024-2024.
Councillor Keel, I think it's only the other way around. I do recall being in court one time where the judge was called His Worship and he was quite offended. But nonetheless.
I presume Your Worship took no offense.
No offense. Call the question. Those in favor. That is carried. And next one is 2024-54 Canada Community Building Fund Agreement. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Andrew Plummer, that bylaw 2024-54, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of a municipal funding agreement with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke to receive funding under the Canada Community Building Fund be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer, the bylaw 2024-54, a bylaw to authorize the entering into of a municipal funding agreement with the Associations of Municipalities of Ontario and the Corporation of the City of Pembroke to receive funding under the Canada Community Building Fund be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Deputy Mayor, did you wish to speak to it?
Your Worship, this was discussed earlier tonight, and this is the renaming of the former gas tax fund, and there's a whole bunch of things it could be used for. We've used it for capital. It can be used for other infrastructure works in the city. Thank you.
You, not to be confused with the provincial one. Call the question. Those in favor? And that is carried. Next, we have motions, Resolution 2024-21, physician shortage in Ontario. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ed Jacquinot. Whereas the state of healthcare in Ontario is in crisis, with 2.5 million Ontarios without family doctor, emergency room closures across the province, and patients being de-rostered, and 40% of family doctors considering retirement over the next 5 years. And whereas it has become increasingly challenging to attract and retain an adequate healthcare force throughout the health sector across Ontario, and whereas the Northern Ontario School of Medicine University says communities in Northern Ontario are short more than 350 physicians, including more than 200 family doctors, and half of the physicians working in Northern Ontario expected to retire in the next 5 years. And whereas Ontario municipal governments play an integral role in healthcare system through responsibilities in public health, long-term care, and paramedicine. And whereas the percentage of family physicians practicing comprehensive family medicine has declined from 77% in 2008 to 65% in 2022. And whereas per capita healthcare spending in Ontario is the lowest of all provinces in Ontario. And whereas a robust workforce developed through the provincial sector-wide health human resources strategy would significantly improve access to health services across the province. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pembroke urge the province of Ontario to recognize the physician shortage in the City of Pembroke and Ontario, and to fund healthcare appropriately and ensure that every Ontarian has access to physician care. Thank you.
Indulgence of council, I would ask that we dispense with rereading of it, and time better spent listening to Councillor Purcell speak to this very important resolution.
Thank you again, Mayor. As you're well aware, 40% of individuals in Renfrew County are unattached. They do not have physician resources. So we're thankful that we do have VTAC and their programs up and running. But that being said, we have an opportunity here to petition the Ontario government for additional dollars to attract and retain some of the health professionals that we do have. I had the pleasure of attending with Sabine Mersman, the CEO of the Ottawa Hospital, to a delegation for the Ministry of Health, and we were talking about physician resources in the area, and there's a total lack in terms of, I'll give you an example in terms of even psychiatrist support. So there's 1.5 psychiatrists to 100,000 individuals here in Renfrew County when the mean is 7. So that just gives you an example. You know, our physicians are working diligently to maintain services at our Pembroke Regional Hospital, keeping the doors open. Some have actually refrained from even taking summer vacation in order to support the hospital operations through the summertime. So please be patient. You'll probably see on social media that wait times are longer than expected. This is just a sign of the times in regards to just the inability for us, or I guess Ontario, to retain physician resources. So kudos to the staff. Kudos to Sabine Mersman for her presentation through AMO, through a delegation, in regards to you know, bringing that forward. You know, we look forward to you know, to ensuring that, you know, every resident has an opportunity to have a primary care physician. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Jacquinot?
Thank you, Your Worship. Speaking earlier tonight as an aside with Councillor Purcell, I indicated to him that I knew of a physician who may be relocating here from San Francisco. His brother presently lives in Laurentian Valley, of all places, imagine. And one of the questions that this high-tech individual lives in Laurentian Valley, he travels the world and does high-tech business, but his brother's a doctor. He's trying to convince him to move here because of the quality of life, etc. And his brother, one of the questions was, does the community have a pool? That's just an aside. But as soon as I have that information, Councillor Purcell, his name, etc., I will forward that to you. And I encourage all of council, if you hear of anybody or you have a hint, you know, somebody who has a friend or knows somebody that, with a, you know, that's a doctor may want to come here, then please don't leave that stone unturned. Please pursue it, because I think, you know, being a little innovative, we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I'll call the question in relation to that resolution. Those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Last resolution for this evening is 2024-22, Zero Emissions Vehicle Infrastructure Program. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Andrew Plummer. Be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Pembroke hereby supports the city's application for the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program for the installation of 2 fast chargers with an output of 50 kilowatt and above, and attest that at least half, 50% of the funds to be covered by non-NRCan, that's Natural Resources Canada, sources are available and have been secured through existing city reserves.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Be it resolved, the Corporation of the City of Pembroke hereby supports the city's application to the Zero Emissions Vehicle Infrastructure Program for the installation of 2 fast chargers with an output of 50 kilowatts and above, and attest that at least half of the funds be covered by non-NRCan sources are available and have been secured through existing city reserves. Deputy Mayor, did you wish to speak to it?
Yes, Your Worship. So the city has applied for, under the leadership of our treasurer, a $500,000 grant through the Canadian Federation of Municipalities Green Municipal Fund, which will go towards 2 electric minibuses. If we got that grant, we would need some DC fast chargers, which we are applying for with this grant. And if we don't get the grant for the electric buses, then we don't need the DC fast chargers. This is a program available with the federal government, pays up to half, so it's worth our while to apply.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Mayor's report. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to bring forward my report at this time. August 14th, I attended the check presentation talking about transit for the federal and provincial government grant to the City of Pembroke, enabling the handy bus to have a new vehicle. Allows us literally to keep wheels on the bus, providing transportation to seniors and those with various challenges. Later that day, I had the pleasure of attending Fabricland as they celebrated their 25th anniversary here in Pembroke. They have a number of locations throughout Canada, and certainly it was a pleasure to have the regional manager attend, and it's always an extreme pleasure to have a business located in the heart of Pembroke that has endured many, many years. August 17th, I attended the Brantford County District Health Unit Steering Committee with our CAO. Various takeaways, including that the number of sudden deaths over year might be down. However, this year is clearly not over. Further, the number of ER visits across the county due to opioids is up, acknowledging that the year again is clearly not over. We received great presentations from the health team and others. A communication plan is being developed, and all partners are to share their media releases, with the first release to be issued shortly, which will better inform the public as to what's going on. In terms of AMO, it was held August 28th to the 21st, and I was fortunate to attend with Councillor Purcell and the CAO, covering various conference sessions and delegations, many different presentations on homelessness, fiscal sustainability, and so forth. And as was indicated earlier this evening, we had the benefit of appearing to 2 different ones, one being the Medical Association, but the second one being with the with Minister Lumsden. Both of them, we had great support from our MPP, John Yakubuski, who is always great to provide his support as we attend these various minister delegations. August 27th and 28th, I had the pleasure to attend Algonquin College. The 27th was a Dean's Luncheon to meet the president and vice presidents of the college as they get ready to start a new year and present long service employee awards. There's a number of employees who are either retiring or simply have been employed for a very long time with the college, which tells you what kind of employer that college is, and that we're most fortunate to have it in our community. It's always very important to foster a relationship with the college, and I understand there's a positive enrollment this year at the college. On August 29th, I had the good fortune of attending the Summer Company wrap-up, and we were greeted by MPP Yakabuski, as well as various mayors from throughout the county, as there was an individual participating in this program from a variety of different municipalities throughout the county. August 31st was the Pembroke Fiddling and Stamp Dancing Contest, and I was able to bring greetings on behalf of Pembroke City Council and welcome all the different individuals on their 46th anniversary. Great music and stamp dancing, and an opportunity to share with everyone a passion that many different individuals have when they come to Pembroke to showcase their talents. As well, there are many that need to be acknowledged for operating that particular competition, and simply wish to acknowledge boards of directors, countless volunteers, many sponsors, all of whom make the Labor Day weekend the Labor Day weekend. Final note, I understand that the Pembroke Lumber Kings have started off another year with a win against the Renfrew Wolves, who we always seemingly compete against in their first exhibition game. Lumber Kings never disappoint, providing great hockey entertainment. Go Kings, go. And as always, be kind to one another. Are there any councillor updates? Councillor Keel.
Just quickly, Your Worship, on the August 22nd, I had the opportunity to attend Putts and Pints. This was run by our Economic Development Department. It was a great social networking opportunity at our own Riverside Park. So there was some mini putts, some pints, and some mingling. Certainly, I want to thank Des Bear Patel. The concept came from him back in June when Des and I were at the Parks and Rec's free mini putt for Recreation Month in June. So everything comes together in our Parks and Recreation Department, and when we can bolster that with the economic development, that just goes to show you how many resources we have here in the city of Pembroke. The Pembroke Youth Market, I was able to get down to the last one of those. As the mayor said, this is such a great initiative. Certainly, you know, in order to give an opportunity to youth who, in many cases, make things with their bare hands and then sell them at the youth market, that's more than just an opportunity. You know, that's teaching them how to be business people. It's teaching them how the real world works, and hopefully we'll get some these youth marketeers. Hopefully will turn into young entrepreneurs, which hopefully will be outstanding future business people here in Pembroke. I had the opportunity as well to attend the final Pembroke Night Market. So these night markets were every Friday night in July and August at our farmers market location. I can't say anything more about Krista Cleash and what she brought to that farmers market location. You know, otherwise the farmers market is often only a few hours on a Wednesday and a few hours on Saturday. This brought people down there every Friday night, and I understand that the PBIA and other people are looking at using the market even more. I think the deputy mayor is well aware of that. We've had some chats about that. So it's great to see, frankly, a very nice public space being used as much as it has been this year. So I certainly appreciate Krista and her night markets for that. I also had the opportunity to attend at Krista's Canadian Candle store, where she opened up a store within a store. So she now, within the candle store at the back, she has an entire room dedicated to falling into Christmas. So you can find everything from Thanksgiving and Halloween stuff all the way to Christmas stuff all year round. So if you're feeling a little down, I highly recommend that you go take a look at that store, because it will certainly get you in some sort of a spirit. So kudos for Krista for expanding her business. And then finally, the mayor already spoke about the fiddling and step dancing contest. What an amazing night that was. Unfortunately, I didn't see the mayor until he was actually heading out. I thought he was rushing out of Festival Hall to get down to Fiddle Park, but I didn't quite see him there until 2 in the morning, as I was with Mary Fraser and Emma March, who won first place in the open competition. What a great, what a just absolutely great thing to have getting bigger and better again here. Obviously, like many things, they were hit during the COVID period, but they're coming back. In speaking with Rodina Gardner, they had more entrants this year than last year, so they're moving back. They're moving back up, and you know, what could be said other than, you know, I can't wait for next year, although it doesn't need to come that quickly. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. I have the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Jacquinot.
Thank you. Yes, the fiddling, we biked down Saturday night, it was great, fantastic. Just
Were
three
you there at
things.
2 a.m. though?
Yes,
Deputy Mayor?
well, I think I saw the mayor step dancing with you. No, maybe that was somebody else. Okay, three quick things. On behalf of the mayor and I, community watch meeting Monday, September 23rd, 7 p.m. at the Pembroke Fire Hall. If you want more information, contact myself or the mayor or Steve Halpenny. We encourage community members to come. The goal of Community Watch is to create safe, welcoming communities. On behalf of the mayor and I, again, the Pembroke Care for Community Garden is wrapping up. There's still growing season in September. We want to publicly thank all the volunteers that have watered the food bank gardens this past summer. And we want to take a special note to Mr. Kevin Cleish, who collects the food twice a week and takes it to Mr. Rene LaChapelle at the St. Joseph's Food Bank. And we've had a really good season at the garden, and it's just going phenomenal. I've been asked by different individuals in the community about transit. I just want to give a quick update where we're at. We've hired a consultant called Left Turn, Right Turn. We've established a committee, a steering committee of stakeholders like the college and social services from the county of Renfrew and community members. They'll be meeting soon on a regular basis to provide input to the consultant. The consultant will be writing up the RFP that'll be issued in probably October. And based upon the RFP submissions, which will, the transit providers will come up with an actual proposal and a costing. Council will have to decide whether they want to proceed with the 3-year pilot project based upon the baseline budget we set based upon North Grenville. The treasurer wrote up a fantastic application. I want to commend her and her staff for a $500,000 grant from the Canadian Federation of Municipalities for a proposal for a 3-year green project using 2 electric minibuses. I read the application, it was phenomenal. If we do not get the money or some money, I'll be very surprised. It was a very excellent submission, but she has warned me that the competition is very competitive across the country. So that's where we're at. In January, we'll know about the grant application. I don't know what the timeline is on the DC Fast Charter. So that's where we're heading at. If all the stars line up and the budget the submissions come in their budget, we're hoping to get transit started April 1st, but that's tentative, so don't quote me on it. So it all depends on affordability. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jacquinot?
Your Worship, in regards to the Fiddling and Step Dancing Championship, I did take some time to do a little subliminal touring around the area and spoke to a few of the folks that had been with trailers. I mean, this is an amazing thing. It's like the Silver Stick. We have people there from the United States competing, far eastern provinces, you know, the far west, and all points in between. In the past, we've had the committee come to council and give us sort of a post-mortem report on how things went. I don't think we've seen that in the last little while. Obviously, with COVID, they didn't have the opportunity. But I think it'd be nice to extend an invitation to them, Your Worship, to tell them what problems perhaps they encountered or what good things happened. I also understand that a number of years ago there was a reserve fund put in place in order to look after any damages that may have taken place to the soccer fields. Remember, one year it was extremely rainy, there were a lot of ruts, and the soccer fields that we just placed, put in place were severely damaged, but they did fix them. I want to know if that reserve plan is still in place and if they're adding to it. It'd be nice to have them here and give us some background. I'd just like to congratulate them as well and as sure you would, Your Worship, on behalf of council. Thank you.
You can certainly extend an invite to Ian Hamilton, who's the president. Okay, so Councillor Keel, and I got Councillor Frenier.
As you know, I sit on the Health Committee for the county for shared services. And I just want to give a little update from MESA, which is our boots on the ground paramedics helping our vulnerable in the community. In less than 5 months since the launch of MESA, paramedics, community services, social service workers, and development of property staff have had a positive impact on the communities throughout the County of Renfrew and the City of Pembroke. Since March of 2024, the MESA team has documented 1,149 interactions. Most of these exchanges have occurred in the Pembroke area, 1,058 interactions, with others taking place in Petawawa, Armpar, and Renfrew. There are now 110 patients registered with 770 progress notes being charted. MESA paramedics are building relationships and trust with these residents. The actions of the paramedics are also helping reduce drug use on the street. In addition, paramedics provide clinical interventions and arrange for assessment center appointments, prescriptions for antibiotics, VTAC physicians. Harm reduction is a priority for paramedics through education and distribution of naloxone kits, which has resulted in at least one life-saving intervention. MESA has also placed 5 people in a temporary bridge housing program in Renfrew. These individuals are receiving full wraparound supportive care by community program staff, addictions treatment services, community mental health, and MESA paramedics. Out of the MESA program came a MESA gathering, which was really beneficial to all of our communities. It took place on May 22nd, and I do believe Councillor Purcell reported on that. And the results have come forward. And what it really showed is, although we have so many services, the gaps are what are causing strain on our services that are there, because individuals aren't getting the full wraparound services they need. Sure, they're seeing a paramedic or they're receiving help, but there's nowhere for them to go once they've been helped. So there's no further treatment, detox, et cetera, et cetera. So the recommendations out of the MESA project from all of these agencies, there were 180 participants representing 49 agencies. They've identified the gaps, and that is detox and treatment. And I don't know if you heard the announcement recently by the Ontario government, is to have, I forget the number, but it's a large increase in the treatment centers in Ontario. And we're talking regional treatment. And that is the way to go. It's been identified. These paramedics are wearing themselves thin. They are helping individuals, and then they're seeing the same faces day in, day out until ultimately they die. It's a sad fact. So this is really positive news that's coming out of here. This is food that we can give the upper levels to make a case to get additional funding. Because as we know, we already have additional budget restraints because of the opiate crisis in our community. But what the paramedics are doing and what the MESA program is doing in our community, it's just begun. And so I am very optimistic that our community is going to benefit from the work that's happening in many committees, including the ones Councillor Purcell is working hard at. So I just want to offer up some words of encouragement to those in our community that are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to just reiterate in terms of my attendance at the AMO conference. It was my first conference as a councillor, and I really thought it was a great opportunity to learn, various different and to speak with the individuals in terms of the situations that are happening within their own municipalities. Out of the 444 municipalities across Ontario, AMO is really looking at, a social and economic prosperity review as what their goal is, and I guess it's no surprise that the homelessness and the opiate crisis is a hot topic in terms of top on the list in regards to issues that people are experiencing or municipalities are experiencing within Ontario. Sylvia Jones announced the $378 million to support the 19 treatment centres that you were talking about and social hubs for individuals with mental health and substance use challenges. So I did have the opportunity to also attend the recreation infrastructure session, which I'll send out to the individuals that are actually sitting on the pool and the multiplex committee. I thought it was very valuable, and that's where I got some of the numbers in regards to the $700 per square foot. And there's also a new build in Southern Ontario that we need to talk about and maybe go down and visit. And also the homelessness the homelessness session in terms of the community safety and well-being planning sessions, which I thought were very valuable. So again, to at least take advantage of it, I think it was a great opportunity. I think there was the maximum was the 3,300 participants this year, which is the biggest ever. So kudos to AMO for establishing that. The Legion, I attended the Legion's annual golf tournament, and thank you for the City of Pembroke for sponsoring the first hole, and special thank you to Denny Levisser for organizing and President Stan Halliday. The Legions are struggling in our area. They had 1,500 members, they're down to 400 members. Financially, they're just trying to keep the doors open. So, there's some opportunities in terms of support for the Legion. One of them being, I'll give you, supper of September the 13th from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. with all proceeds going to Branch 72, Hawks, Wings, and Fries supper. So you can have your choice of barbecue, honey garlic, or hot. It comes with fresh cut fries, gravy, and poutine, and again, all those proceeds go back to the Legion. So if you have the opportunity to participate in any some of the Legion functions, please do. Again, they whatever they bring in, they actually give back tenfold to the community. So I think right now is our opportunity to really kind of help out the Legions. The youth market, I went to the youth market and had a good conversation with a young entrepreneur. She raised herself $400 this summer, and I bought some gibbets for some Crocs for my grandson, and he just loves them. So we had a good conversation there. So kudos to those young entrepreneurs. The Community Safety Working Group was held its inaugural meeting on August the 28th, and that's the fourth pillar of the substance abuse strategy. Thank you to your CAO, Dave Unraw, for facilitating that meeting. I think it was a really good opportunity and got a good discussion going in terms of our next steps, in terms of how we're going to address those issues and incorporate some of the community safety and well-being recommendations that came out of our safety plan as well. Some good news coming for the SUUP grant. So remember I talked to you guys about the grant last, I guess it was last fall. So this is good information. There's some good news that are coming out there, and will be probably in the later this month or next month. So, that's the substance use and addiction program. So there's lots of activities happening, and also I'll be coming forward with just a recommendation in terms of, or notice of motion in regards to reestablishing our warming center for the 2024-25 months. So that's it.
You, Councillor Keel.
Your Worship, I did forget one thing that I wanted to point out. So over the last week, going down to Fiddle Park, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of our remaining summer students. Earlier this year, whether it was going to the Waterfront Live or whether it was meeting the staff at the marina. I'm not sure that a lot of our residents know that Waterfront Live, the movie nights, the marina, the facilities at Fiddle Park all week are all staffed by students. They were such an incredibly professional and great group of students this year, Your Worship. I was happy to get to know many of them. They're the ones that you see running around on Canada Day, keeping our washrooms clean and topped up. They're the ones, like I said, running the Waterfront Live, whether it's the speaker systems or the movie nights. So I just want to commend Councillor Lafreniere and Councillor Purcell, and certainly Jordan and his entire department for choosing such great students who worked tirelessly this summer in various facilities across the way. And what really made me want to say this is the other night, Saturday night, I was approached by someone while I was at Fiddle Park, and they were just telling me how great a job the quote-unquote kids were doing, and that they saw them running around, and I think they were doing washroom checks every 2 hours. Like it really makes you feel proud when somebody from outside the community points at some of our younger people and says, you know, they've been doing a great job, and they really did, your worship. And I know the summer's ending, and our full-time staff, of course, will be keeping the rinks and everything going, and they do a great job as well, your worship. But I did, coming into tonight, I did want to make sure that I remembered to do that, and I thank the Deputy Mayor for commending our treasurer, which reminded me that there was something very important that I forgot to say.
Oh, thank you for that. Councillor Lafreniere, and
Just a final comment, now that you mentioned school. So most of the schools, well, some of the schools have already gone back, but most of them go back tomorrow. So in light of the transportation issues and the lack of school buses in our community, I just want everyone in the general public to be mindful that there's going to be a lot more vehicular traffic around the schools at drop-off and pickup times. And I know that my granddaughter's school sent us a map of where to go and where to park. So just be mindful when you're in school zones that there are going to be a lot of individuals dropping off and picking up small children, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever people can grab. And so just be mindful of that and try to have a safe return to school. And we don't know how long this is going to go on. So please just have patience on the roads. Thank you.
thank you. Next up is closed session. Councillor Plummer, I understand you have a motion to move into closed session?
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Giacono, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of lands by the municipality as per section 2392C of the Municipality Act regarding the sale of land to the town of Ottawa through the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer, second by Councillor Giacono, the meeting become a closed meeting to discuss proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality as per section 239 sub 2 sub C of the Municipal Act regarding a sale of land to the town of Petawawa through the Pembroke and Area Airport Commission. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.